Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our dedication of Gayle Sloan Middle School. It's so, there we go. It's so good being here this morning, seeing all of the faces that we just haven't seen in years. And I know Gayle would be looking down so proud of all of us and all of the people who came this morning to be with us. You know, I grew up here. I was here for 24 years. Gayle hired me, took a chance on a pregnant girl, and gave me my first shot at being an educator, and this is just home for me. And so I was very pleased when Cheryl asked me, to do this. I want to thank Cheryl for everything she did to get this together. She did a great job. So first, I'm going to introduce Leslie Vetrano Ubright for the prayer and pledge.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? A little taller than Mary. Okay. First of all, I also want to thank everybody. I personally want to thank everyone who supported this and pushed this through. As family with Gayle, it is so moving to be here today and see the impact that she's had in the community. I also want to thank Miss Araby, who will always be Miss Araby to me because she's my fourth grade teacher, for asking me to do the pledge and the prayer. Ironically, the last time I led the Pledge of Allegiance was in this building, in Gayle's office. And at that young age, I walked into her office and I was nervous. I felt that mix that you just know you feel with Gayle, which is she's proud of you, but she has some high expectations. And I stand here today with the same feeling. And the same expectations from Gayle. So I'm gonna ask that you help me exceed her expectations, and I'm gonna ask that you rise, and then we'll start with the pledge, and then you can remain standing for a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You guys did great. Feel free to bow your heads. Dear Lord, we come before you today with hearts full of gratitude. Thank you for this day, community, school, and the wonderful woman whose name it will forever honor, Gayle Sloan. Today we reflect on her past and her impact, while also looking towards the future. Therefore, we ask for your guidance and blessing upon this school and all who enter its doors. May it be a place where knowledge is pursued with passion, where wisdom is imparted with love, where character is molded with integrity. We pray for the students who will walk these halls, that they may be inspired to learn and develop into individuals who contribute positively to their communities. Bless the administration, teachers, and staff. Be with them as they work tirelessly to educate and nurture the students entrusted to them. Grant them wisdom and compassion in their roles. Watch over the parents. Give them patience and grace as their little babies find themselves in this world. For the community, may this school be a symbol of hope, promoting excellence in education and fostering a spirit of unity. And lastly, may all who pass through these doors know that they have a very special angel up there in Gayle, who is watching, guiding, loving, and advocating for them, just like she did for all of St. Tammany Parish Public Schools. We trust that you and Gayle will keep the school protected and thriving for years to come. In your name we pray, amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Mary.
Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Cliff Sloan. Mrs. Sloan's husband of many years would like to come up and say a few words.
Good morning. Thanks everyone for coming to the dedication today. And a very big thank you to Cheryl Araby and Peggy Sharp for all of the hard work that they've put in to make this a success. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, old friends and relatives. This school was Gayle's baby. She get my thoughts here. She was principal through unprecedented growth when portable classrooms reached all the way out to Soap Street. She, under her guidance, the school earned the National School Merit Award, among others. I also want to acknowledge two members of Gayle's beloved sisterhood who all graduated from Mandeville High, I think in the class of '67. There's two here today. The third one lives in Houston. She couldn't make it. Sandra, Susie, ladies, please stand and be recognized. I was thinking the other day that 10, 15 years from now, parents will be enrolling their kids into school, and some might ask, who was Gayle Sloan? Well, this honor ensures that she will never be forgotten. I want to thank everyone again for coming today. I know Gayle is smiling down on us, and thanks again, once again, for coming.
Okay, I would like to introduce some special guests that we have with us today. We have our present board members. We have Mr. Matt Green, Miss Deborah McCollum. So thank you all for coming. We also have St. Tammany's Clerk of Court, Miss Jessica Jenkins Brewster. Former Superintendent Trey Folse. Former Assistant Superintendent Regina Sanford. Former board member Mr. Mike Winkler. Former school board member Ms. Beth Hines. Former school board member Mr. Ron Betancourt. Former school board member Mr. Jack Loop. Former school board member Mr. Donald Villery. And we also have with us today SLU President Will Wainwright. So thank you for coming. Next, I would like to introduce Superintendent Jabia, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mary. I'm pretty loud. I don't know if I need this. Today's a very special day for me. It's been an honor for me in my short time as superintendent, 3.5 years, which in dog years is very long. But it's been an honor for me to have the opportunity to recognize people that have done some great things. And we've named, some fields. We've recognized people in gymnasiums. But when you talk about naming a school after an individual, that is probably the highest honor that someone can bestow upon you as an educator and someone that impacted the community. So it is my privilege today to be here and speak to you a few minutes. Ms. Sloan believed in, the privilege and prestige of being the superintendent of St. Tammany Parish. She started at Shataima. She moved over to Mandeville Middle and became an English teacher and a resource helping teacher. And then pursued her dreams of doing some greater things. And she came to central office in '96 to be a supervisor, and then in 97 became Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, where she served till 2003. And then again, from 2003 to 2010, she was the superintendent of this school system, where she just did amazing things. She was a visionary. She saw what needed to happen, where the state, where things needed to move, what needed to happen to move this school system from good to great, by partnering with the Schlechte Institute and the things that she did, thinking outside the box, move this school system in a direction that we continue to aspire and move toward of being the best school system in the state of Louisiana. I think back as a teacher at that time in 2005, when Katrina devastated my community where I live, and what Gayle did to rally the teachers, the faculty, the staff, and the community to reopen our schools only 5 weeks after that devastating storm, which, you know, if y'all remember, people were making plans to educate their kids everywhere but St. Tammany, because they had no thoughts that that could even take place. But we did so many creative things. For me, platooning North Shore and Salmon High School so that we could get kids back in. We thought outside the box back then, and that was one of Gayle's biggest attributes, was the ability to think outside the box. I think back also to other things she did. She was huge in trying to establish our past and recognize our past and honor everyone that has gotten us there. She did a great job of organizing and developing the PTA that we are so proud of now. St. Tammany Parish continues to lead the way in parent-teacher involvement in that collaboration, and that started under Gayle's regime. I also think back to myself. Here I am in 2000, before Katrina, 2004. I'm an administrative assistant at North Shore High School. I'm at a powerlifting meet, because I that was what my former life. I was at a powerlifting meet, and it was a Saturday, and I get a call. It says Gayle Sloan on my phone. I'm like, hey. So I step outside the gym, and she goes, Frankie, how you doing? I'm like, good. She goes, I need help. Slaughter Junior High, we were in between administrators. I need you to come and be a roaming assistant principal, administrative assistant. While we're doing that transition, we need some help. I said, Ms. Sloan, have you talked to Dr. Peterson? She said, you don't worry about that. I take care of that. I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, I'll be there Monday morning. I will be there. So for about 4 weeks, I was a roaming disciplinarian, assistant principal, while Mr. Yarbrough filled in as the acting principal until that job was filled. So that was my first experience, and then just a short time later, in 2006, she gave me my opportunity to be an assistant principal at North Shore High School. She also did so much to develop the legacy of our school system. I think back to the principal meetings and the events that we attended, and how she stressed to principals, have a plan, build a legacy, prepare people to take over, because you're not going to be able to do it forever. Prepare people to take that next step to where when your time is done, that there is a path to continue what you've done. And she did that with Trey. Trey then in turn did that with me by providing those opportunities to me. So she just thought outside the box, and a lot of the things that she's done different than I'm dealing with now. But we've all got to think outside the box and be creative, because as you know, public education is ever changing. And we have to make adjustments on the run, and we have to do that all the time. You know, she created a couple things, like I said, and one thing to preserve our past was Preservation Plaza. She put that together to make sure that we honored what has happened in the past. And again, thinking outside the box. In just a moment, we're going to play a video honoring Ms. Sloan that was created and produced by the group the organization, Channel 13, the TV station, and the Treen Center, where we think outside the box and do some very creative work. She had a dream that was that facility and that was our own TV station to tell the story of St. Tammany Parish. So Gayle thought outside the box from beginning to end, and she put so many things in motion that helps me every day in the job that I do now, but she has a lasting impact, and that's why we're here. We're here to honor Miss Sloan. We're here to honor Gayle Sloan Middle School as where she started and the great legacy that she has created. So if you would join me now in watching a video that her own Channel 13 has put together.
It was in the small town of Mandeville that Gayle Gill grew up, with friends, with family, and with a strong sense of community and culture, qualities that would guide Gayle along on her way to becoming one of Mandeville's favorite daughters. Gayle excelled in school in both academics and extracurricular activities. She was involved in many clubs, the yearbook, newspaper staff, pep squad, Girls State, student council, beta club, just to name a few. She was even selected as the Queen of Mandeville High's Crew of Neptune. Gayle graduated with honors in 1967, along with 42 other classmates, the largest class to graduate from Mandeville High at that time. Her senior class quote was, "Nothing is impossible for the willing." Gayle Gill would prove this quotation true many times over in her career. Gayle began teaching in Jefferson Parish, met and married Cliff Sloan, and returned back to the North Shore to build a home and a career in St. Tammany Parish. After a year at Shataima, Gayle transferred to Mandeville Middle School, where she moved from classroom teacher to resource helping teacher, to assistant principal, and then to principal. Gayle would then become supervisor, assistant superintendent, and finally superintendent with each career move. Superintendent Sloan used her experience, wisdom, and vision to lead the school system on its journey from good to great. All the while, her passion, drive, and commitment to her work was fueled by her love for children.
Gayle absolutely loved the children, and she wanted to make sure that any child who stepped foot in Mandeville Middle School left with a Class A education.
She was always in the classrooms. You could see her in the hallways, out at recess, a lot of places that she didn't have to be, but she wanted to be with those students.
She listened to the students, she listened to the teachers.
And she provided a lot of professional development for us. And I think, again, it's because she truly cared. She cared about the system as a whole, she cared about us individually, and she wanted to make us the best educators that we could be for our kids.
She honored the students with, they wanted to have a bank. We had a bank. They wanted more arts. We got more arts.
She really brought that into the school system. That is when discipline-based art education was coming around. We all went. She made sure that we knew the artists. We were teaching art history to the kids. Even now, I do see glimpses of that in our schools, and especially those of us who learned under Gayle, the administrators, you can still see that in their schools.
I can remember when she had an idea, Share Fair. It was a time when our teachers made lessons for other teachers, not just in Mandeville, not just in St. Tammany, but in the state. Many teachers came from around the state to Mandeville Middle School to listen to Mandeville Middle School teachers and the lessons they had developed, the skills that they could pass on to other teachers.
Well, Share Fair started about 14 years ago here at Mandeville Middle School. A group of teachers got together and decided that they wanted to provide professional development for their teachers.
And it really was the inspiration for the Summer Institute. So that was another thing that she put into play, but again, it goes with that, she was a visionary. Gayle was just someone who loved her job. And it wasn't a job to Gayle. It was her heart and soul. She loved those students, she loved all of the faculty, and truly cared about what went on in Mandeville Middle. And she is someone who I will always remember as having her heart in the game.
One of the highest honors you can get as an educator is to have a school named after you. And I think Gayle Sloan is very deserving of receiving this honor.
She was at Mandeville Middle from the very beginning, and she was there a long, long time. And she just lent so much to the school system, especially that school. She gave her blood, sweat, and tears to that school. And I just think it's fitting. I couldn't think of anybody else who would be deserving to have a school named after them.
Most of us in education are not in it for the money. We're in it for feeling that we're part of something bigger than ourselves and that we are making a difference in the lives of children. And that's what's so rewarding and satisfying about this work we do.
I'd like to thank Channel 13 for putting that video together. I thought it was very fitting and represented all of our feelings for Gayle. I wanted to real quickly, I would be remiss to not introduce our assistant superintendents, our current assistant superintendents, plus I would probably never hear the end of it. So we have Mr. Steve Alfonso, who is assistant superintendent of human resources. Ms. Kim Gardner, who is Assistant Superintendent of SWE and Federal Programs, and Dr. Melissa Langlois, who is Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum. So thank you for that. So Ms. Cheryl, would you like to come up? You're going to introduce Mr. Yes. Yes.
Good morning. Before I begin to introduce our special guests who have memories to share, one thought came to mind as all the hugging and kissing and reuniting was going on this morning, is if I asked all of those of you who teach at Mandeville Middle to report to your classroom, I don't think we'd have anybody to talk to in the audience. But with that being said, would all of you please stand that taught at Mandeville Middle School under Gayle's leadership? Thank you. Well, first, we're going to get different perspectives on Gayle. We're going to start with Trey Foles. He was a proud product of St. Tammany Parish Public School System. He's a graduate of Slidell High School. He served as a teacher, administrator, and several central office positions. He was deputy superintendent during Gayle's time as superintendent, and upon Gayle's retirement, June 2007, he became superintendent of St. Tammany Parish School System, where he served until June 2020. He became my boss at that time, before he retired. And at this time, he would like to share some of his memories of Gayle.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here this morning. That video was amazing. Just reminds me the impact that Channel 13 has made for this school system for so many years. And just to see those videos and see those pictures just brings back those memories to me and what they've done and what they've accomplished, and so proud of that as well. It was great to see everyone here this morning. As I said, lots of hugs and kisses. A couple people even told me, haven't seen you in a long time. You look so much better than the last time I saw you. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll take that as a compliment. I think, Frankie, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so As many of you know, Gayle was unanimously chosen as superintendent of our school system, and she chose me as her deputy superintendent. And together, along with our amazing team, as Cheryl mentioned, for close to 8 years, I would like to share with you, from those that may not know, not only did we work together, we were also very close friends for those many years. And I also had the pleasure of being friends and sports fans together with her husband, Cliff. We took some great trips together. We had some great memories together for those trips, a lot of sports trips with a lot of fun. So really we'll always have those memories as well with Cliff. And Cliff and Gayle together were our family friends for forever. So over those 8 years, Gayle and I spent much time together. And during that time, I grew myself to know and learn how much Mandeville Middle School meant to her, first as a teacher, then an assistant principal, and then as its principal. And just as the students, faculty, and staff and parents of Mandeville Middle benefited from Gayle's leadership here, those same students, faculty, and staff and parents from across this entire parish benefited from what Gayle learned here and brought with her to the central office. I remember right before Gayle retired, there was a ceremony here at this school to honor Gayle. And I remember how beautifully she spoke about Mandeville Middle and what it meant to her both professionally and personally. I went back and looked at her quote that day, and this is what she said right here at this school. This school was the place where I sort of was born as a teacher and an administrator, and where I learned a lot of lessons that I took with me when I left. Gayle may have left Mandeville Middle School to touch the lives and hearts of students across St. Tammany Parish, but I promise you, and I know this for a fact, Mandeville Middle School never left Gayle Sloan's heart. I truly believe that those experiences and lessons learned helped Gayle to be the great superintendent she was for this school system. I can assure you, through the good times as well as the challenges, Frankie mentioned Katrina and all of our challenges that went with that and the leadership that she provided there, those lessons that were learned here at Mandeville Middle contributed to her success as well as the success of this school system. Knowing Gayle as well as I did, and spending as much time as I did with her, I know 100% how special this day would be and the renaming of this school would be to her. So I want to thank Cheryl, Regina, everyone that had so much to do with this, her family, her friends, the St. Tammany Parish School Board, Mandeville Middle family, Superintendent Jabby and his amazing staff, and all the others that helped to make today special. It will be forever appreciated and valued. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from a student perspective. We have Matthew Green. Matthew Green is a St. Tammany Parish Public School Board member representing District 1. He attended Mandeville Middle School, Mandeville Junior High, and graduated from Mandeville High School in 1994. He is a former student of MMS during Gayle's tenure as an administrator. I heard some of those stories from Gayle. Matthew Green will share his thoughts of Gayle Sloan from a student's point of view. Matthew.
As a school board member, we get to see a lot of people come up to the podium and talk, and a lot of them bring phones, and I never thought I'd be one of those guys until my son woke up this morning. He said, "Dad, I'm not feeling too good," so I rushed him to urgent care and hacked out some notes on my iPhone because I've been thinking about what I was going to say for a long time, and I thought I bled more blue and white, Mandeville Skipper blue and white than anybody until I saw that video of Miss Sloan, and I think she's definitely got me trumped. But I wanted to share a few kind of funny anecdotes about Miss Sloan from a student's perspective. My family moved to Mandeville in around '85. I was in 5th grade, didn't know many people, and it was in music class that I got into my first fisticuff with another student. His name was Damian Kasnave. To this day, he's my friend, and we actually share a birthday. But we end up in Miss Sloan's office, and we're sitting across from that wooden desk. And this was back in the days when my parents were happy to sign that corporal punishment agreement. and they delivered their own share at home as well. So Miss Sloan had me and Damien bend over her desk, and I don't know a lot about Miss Sloan personally, but I guarantee she would have been a dadgum good pickleball player. But it's one of those defining moments as a student where, you know, I didn't like it at the time and probably didn't care for Miss Sloan much of the time, but when you look back at defining moments, that was the time that I made a decision that I wasn't going to be in a principal's office for a disciplinary action again, because if she could wield that paddle, so could Mr. Sylvester, and so could a lot of others. And I just remember that I just don't end up in the principal's office, and it really set me on the straight and narrow. Me and Miss Sloan moved over to this school at the start of my 6th grade. I was the first 6th grade class at this school. And we were so excited to go to junior high, but they did some shifting. As Mr. Sloan stated, there was unprecedented growth in this area at that time. So we were part of this new class that wasn't going to the junior high. We were a little disappointed. And it was in music class. These things, for some reason, there's something always about music class that we were, I think there might have been a substitute music teacher in. So as you can imagine, it was total anarchy. We go back to our classroom, and our teacher, Miss Umbehagen, she said, "You're going to write lines for the rest of the school. I will not behave in music class," something to that effect, 50, 100 times. Right as we started, the intercom comes on and said, "Could you send Matt Green with his books down to Miss Sloan's office?" That's where I found out my dad passed away. And Miss Sloan wrapped her arms around me and said, "Matt, I got you. This school will wrap its arms around you and protect you." And it did. It really, really did. And my life from that moment forward could have gone a bunch of different directions, but it was from the warmth of friendships, from the administration and Miss Sloan that helped guide me to not going off on a difficult path. But it's funny how things come full circle, because not 35 years later from her busting my butt with a paddle, I found myself knocking on her front door on her porch that they showed the house in the Lewisburg area, and I knocked on the door, and sure enough, Miss Sloan answers. And I said, and I saw it on the list. You know, you got your walk-in list, and you see it's Miss Sloan, and like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. Knock on the door. I say, "Miss Sloan, you may not remember me, but you paddled me in 5th grade, and now I need your vote for school board." And she said, "Matt, I paddled a bunch of kids in my day, but I see it probably did you some good." And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I like to think that it did." And so I'm just so honored to be here and to be part of this special celebration honoring Gayle Sloan. To be perfectly honest, I didn't know her as well as many of you that worked with her and for her. But I do have those impactful memories that just some of those that you just can't forget. And she was just such a commanding presence. And, you know, like Teddy Roosevelt said, walk tall but carry a big stick, or walk softly and carry a big stick. And she carried a big stick and a big paddle. And I just, again, thank you for letting me be part of this celebration. She meant more to students than probably anybody could comprehend. And just thankful for allowing you for letting me be part of it. Thanks.
Next, we're going to hear from, of course, the PTA, as you've heard through the video and some of the talks already. PTA was very, very important to Gayle. So any of the members of PTA that are here, if you'll please stand, let me recognize all of you. All right, Jocelyn Lowe, I know you're here. Debbie Blanchard. Yeah, please stand. Y'all are so shy. Thank you. Well, now we're going to hear from Cheryl Jocelyn. Cheryl Jocelyn is a parent of 4 children and was a very active PTA member during Gayle's leadership. She held a variety of positions in PTA at the district, state, and national levels. Excuse me, my page 2's here. She was MMS president, treasurer, Fontainebleau Junior High School treasurer, Fontainebleau High School treasurer, district PTA president and treasurer, national PTA board member with 4 children. She was a strong supporter of the St. Tammany Parish Public School System for several years, and I would like for her to tell you about some of her experiences working with Gayle. Got it? Yep. Come on, lady.
Slow and easy. Good morning. Faced with shrinking budgets and growing class sizes, not to mention high standards for teacher and student performance, schools today need the support of families and the community. PTA can help, but without the support of students or superintendent and principals, PTA would not exist in this parish. Gayle Sloan was a shining example in both jobs, as she knew well the value of PTA. I was fortunate enough to serve as PTA president at MMS when Gayle was principal. She knew then what we all know now. Parent involvement is the most consistent predictor of student success in all demographic groups and across all socioeconomic lines. Parents were welcome, indeed encouraged, to participate in all aspects of Mandeville Middle, not just as volunteers, but as advocates for their children. Gayle realized that engaging parents in the education of their children had the potential to be more effective than any other type of educational reform. She made Mandeville Middle a school where parents felt wanted and recognized for their strengths and potential. Gayle gave each new idea or suggestion or problem or concern thoughtful and serious consideration. Her ability to not just listen to but really hear earned her the respect of all. Gayle's commitment to the PTA was well known by the parents. Her support allowed the middle school PTA to deliver a vast array of programs, including Celebrity Reading Day, written and illustrated, an intergenerational exchange, Olympic Field Day, a visit by French foreign student exchange students, all aboard the Orient Express, Art Fiesta Day, and a weekly all-volunteer art program, and that was just 1 year. Gayle's passion made us all want to work harder and better, and as a bonus, we all had a blast. As superintendent, her support of the PTA continued. Gayle encouraged all principals to invite the district PTA officers to their parent meetings so they could share the advantages of PTA. All schools in St. Tammany have a PTA, a huge success and virtually unheard of anywhere else. For me, as a parent and former PTA leader, it was Gayle's love of children and support of parents that touched my heart most. Naming the school in her honor, we will be reminded each day of what an extraordinary teacher, administrator, superintendent, and human she was. Thank you.
Well, we've heard from a student and we've heard from PTA, so now you're going to hear from a teacher's point of view. As a teacher serving under Gayle Sloan's leadership at Mandeville Middle School, I can reflect on the many times and events she attended in this very gym. Gayle held staff meetings here when her faculty outgrew the library from 45 teachers and staff to over 100. Her faculty surprised her for her 40th birthday with a rocking chair, which remains in the lounge today. One year on this very stage, and I had to dig a little deep, I remembered, but I had to remind other people, she performed on this stage with the 6th grade teachers, lip-syncing R-E-S-P-E-C-T to Aretha Franklin. The children went wild. When she was promoted to assistant superintendent, she was invited back to Mandeville Middle School to celebrate her accomplishments. When she received the superintendent position and then Superintendent of the Year award, MMS staff once again wanted to celebrate her achievements and invited her back. A large gathering of educators surrounded Gayle right here to bid Gayle farewell when she retired June 2007. With all these events held at Mandeville Middle School, it is so appropriate that Mandeville Middle School will now be known as Gayle Sloan Middle School, as she always returned to her roots throughout her time as an educator. Gayle was born, raised, and attended Mandeville Public Schools. She was extremely proud of Mandeville, as she was a Mandeville High graduate. Soon after, she received her education degree from LSU and returned to Mandeville and joined the ranks of St. Tammany Parish educators. She quickly became a part of the Mandeville Middle School staff, where she served as a teacher, resource helping teacher, assistant principal, and principal. Mandeville Middle School on Soult Street opened in 1987, this very building, with approximately 900 students, and Gayle was assistant principal at that time. She immediately took charge and led the school through the Southern Association accreditation, the application process for the National Blue Ribbon of Excellence, which Mandeville Middle School was awarded in 1990. It was the first public school in St. Tammany Parish. She also believed that providing professional development for her teachers and staff was essential, and encouraged her staff to participate in state as well as out-of-state training and education. She created a rich environment for all to learn, not just students. She also recognized the need for technology and its importance for teachers as well as students. Through her efforts, Mandeville Middle School had the first computer lab in the district, and it wasn't long after that 6 teachers received the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. She had a unique value of the arts in education. She joined the Getty Institute of Fine Arts, and lead teachers were trained in discipline-based arts, DBAE, so they could provide all training to teachers at MMS. Mandeville Middle became a showcase for the arts. Teachers from around the state visited to learn and observe lessons. In order to provide other systems an opportunity to learn, she led a team of teachers to create an event that teachers could attend and learn from the talented staff. Thus, Share Fair was established and held at the beginning of the school year, where typically more than 700 educators attended each year. Gayle established and organized the French Exchange Student Program at Mandeville Middle. The program allowed students to travel to France and attend school there as French students returned here and visited Mandeville Middle School. It was such a unique culture opportunity for 5th grade students, and when I reached out to hear what other students had to say, that came up on more than one occasion. Gayle valued the parent and community connection at Mandeville Middle School. She welcomed them to visit and share their talents. Mandeville Middle School's PTA became the largest in the state. All of these initiatives and accolades and much more were accomplished while Mandeville Middle School continued to grow with more than 1,600 students under her watch. Schedules were effective, efficient, and safe. And at the end of each day, all of us here remember more than 1,600 middle school students would leave at the same time, load 38 waiting school buses to head home without a glitch. Administrators from our district and around the state would visit to learn how exactly she planned and organized such a well-run school with student achievement at the highest mark. One of Gayle's favorite conversations she enjoyed having about Mandeville Middle School would include listing her seedlings. Gayle called seedlings, they were her educators that grew into teachers, into leaders, from teachers into leaders from their time at Mandeville Middle School. They were planted at other schools around St. Tammany Parish as administrators, curriculum specialists, and some, like myself and Mary Hart, assistant superintendents. Her last count with me, and this was just 2 days before she passed, we had to say all the names together. We included 15 leaders, and some are still serving today, and many of them are sitting here today. Due to her outstanding leadership, Gayle Sloan, of course, was soon promoted to central office where she served as an instructional supervisor, assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, and in 2003, superintendent. As Gayle led the St. Tammany Parish school system, many of her lessons and accomplishments were from Mandeville Middle School. They followed her and were spread throughout the district. She knew the importance of collaboration and creating a learning environment, which led to learning communities. Principals no longer would sit in isolation at meetings and training. They would sit together in their assigned learning community, which consisted of their feeder schools, where they would discuss student achievements and issues that were familiar to them. She formed strong relations with community resources, the sheriff's office, parish council, legislative members, chamber, Kiwanis Club, to name a few. And she would plan presentations with her team to share with them at meetings throughout the year. I always called it was her way of marketing. She called it a showcase. She was showcasing how St. Tammany Parish Public School System was the best in the state. One of her most challenging times, which we will never forget, Katrina. In the first days following Katrina, she reached out to her staff and all principals, making sure everyone returned home so they could get our schools open. She shared with us in a school library with no electricity that our responsibility to the community was to open schools so the people of our community would return home. The strong relationships that had been created with all the community entities allowed St. Tammany Parish Schools to open just 3 weeks after this huge disaster. When Gayle Sloan became superintendent, she knew that St. Tammany Parish Public School System was a good system. Her vision during her term as superintendent was for it to become a great public school system, which she certainly accomplished during her term. Good to great was always her motto. Gayle Sloan truly never left Mandeville Middle School. It was always her baby, and now so deserving it will carry her name, Gayle Sloan Middle School. Thank you.
As I listen to Ms. Cheryl talk, the next guest we'd like to address you is the new principal here at Gayle Sloan Middle School. And I am, as we've gone through the process, Ms. Sherry Barton retired after 40 years of education. And so we were looking for the first principal at Gayle Sloan Middle. And this person just stuck out as I heard Ms. Cheryl talking, as an instructional leader. Her background is instruction, her future is instruction. She is all about academics and growing kids and growing people. So it is my pleasure to recognize the new principal and also for the new Gayle Sloan Middle, Miss Amanda Keller.
You're gonna make me cry before I come up here? Good morning, everyone. I'd like to extend my deepest appreciation to everyone here for attending this monumental event as we rename this most special place in honor of former superintendent and principal, Miss Gayle Sloan. I am overwhelmed with gratitude and am so humbled to serve as the first principal of Gayle Sloan Middle School. As I stated in my acceptance speech a few weeks ago, I was a third grade teacher at Covington Elementary during her tenure as superintendent and assistant superintendent, and she was known for many, many things, all of the things that we've heard here this morning, but for this classroom teacher, she was the epitome of an instructional leader. Put the student growth and student achievement while keeping them safe and happy in their learning environment. That was her first and foremost goal. And for me, I only hope to emulate the type of leader that she was, without the paddle. I do want to go ahead and I'm going to keep this brief because I know we want to get to the cake. I do want to recognize a few people. Our custodial staff, you guys please stand. Reggie and his team, they have worked so hard over the past few weeks to prepare our campus for this event, all the while attending to their regular summer responsibilities. I've kind of had to run a one-to-one man defense at the front office, holding our teachers at bay because they were, ready to get into their classroom, but we were trying to get this campus ready for this event today while getting the floors ready for our kiddos to come in August. I also want to recognize, what do you guys think about the new logo? It's beautiful. Yeah. She is not here today, but our talented art teacher, Miss Kylie Traig, did, the kiddos are going bananas. It was very important that we kept all of this work in-house, and so Miss Barton and I tasked her back in January or February with the that challenge, and it went through a lot of stages. There was a bird at one point that wasn't so great, but she worked and worked and worked, and I just really think it landed well, and we came up with the final product, and so I just want to recognize her. She is the one responsible for that. I'd also like to thank Assistant Superintendent Miss Mary Hart for all of the support and help and backup phone calls as we transition into this next school year. Finally, I would like to recognize the current faculty and staff who are in attendance. If you guys could all stand up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to specifically acknowledge Miss Amy Barnes, who accepted the assistant principal position this past Tuesday at 8 a.m. and was on campus by 10. This group of amazing individuals will be the first faculty and staff of Gayle Sloan Middle School, and I could not be prouder to serve alongside of all of you this inaugural year. I know that our faculty and staff would agree with me when I say that we are so humbled to be a part of this. We truly have a special angel up there looking over us and our precious students. Our promise to her and to all of you is that we will all work so very hard to make her proud. Thank you for coming.
you.